We're going to go ahead and start because I have a ton to share about. I'm going to have little fun facts about me as we go along. Don't worry, there won't be a pop quiz. You don't have to remember all these things but I would like to know what is the most surprising thing that you find out about me that you didn't know and you were most surprised about. So but you can share this video if you want, either right now while we're live, or you can share it later on. That would be much appreciated. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe because that helps me out a ton. So, all right, let's dig in here. We're going to have a lot of history about me, some fun facts on the way. So I grew up, as Cathy knows, I grew up in the Syracuse, New York area, a little town called Liverpool, New York, just north of Syracuse. And here's a fun fact, the first one. My maiden name is Lincoln, and I am the 19th cousin of President Abraham Lincoln. So there's a fun fact for you. When I was growing up, I was always a tomboy, always looking for little creatures, little minnows. We'd go to the church picnic because I pretty much grew up in church. I was there all the time. And so they'd be like, oh, where's Cathy? And she's down in the creek, there she is. She's catching minnows, she's catching crayfish. And I'd bring them home and they'd live for 2 days. And then we'd have like a little funeral, flush down the toilet or whatever. But I was the tomboy. I was always in the water as much as possible. So I was racking my brain to see, okay, how far back did fishing go with me and catching fish? And my most vivid memory, I actually have a picture of, sort of a picture of, I'll explain in a minute, but I would remember going down to this pond near our house, and there was all of these kids around this pond, and me, little shy Cathy, I got the quietest award when I was in 8th grade. I guess that could be another fun fact. I was so quiet, so shy, didn't want to talk to anybody in middle school and everything like that. But anyways, here I am. I jumped in the middle of this pond. You can't see the bottom. You don't know how deep it is. And just ran toward the shore. And all of these fish would just go jumping out of the water. And I just remember kids scrambling to catch all of these fish. So I took them home. And I have this picture here. I'm going to show some pictures as I go through. And I'm probably, some of these are embarrassing pictures. So please don't screenshot. You probably, half of you will. But anyways, here's this picture. If you can see, I created this little labyrinth of this whole little city. And I had like over 60 fish swimming around. I had a toad. I had all these little creatures. And that was like, I'd go out there every day and play with these fish. And so at least until winter came. And then if you know anything about New York winters, we averaged about 150 inches of snow. That wouldn't go over that well with those fish. So I had to get rid of most of them. And but anyways, so I remember back, there was nobody in my family who fished. Not that I remember. I've thought back and I was like, who taught me how to fish? It wasn't my parents. There wasn't an uncle. There wasn't anybody in my life in my family that I remember fishing. So somewhere along the line, somebody taught me how to fish. But I would just go to, little ponds. Cathy, you know where the Onondaga Lake is, and those little runoff ponds as you're going like north on Onondaga, Old Liverpool Road, going up toward the Liverpool, and there's these little runoff ponds. I don't know if any of the fish in there were safe. I never kept any to eat, obviously, but I have 2 pictures from when I was really scrawny and young. So I've got these pictures of me. I've caught these fish. I don't know why my mom let me leave the house with my hair like that, but I had that little fish. I had this little fish. But yeah, I was a skinny little scrawny thing. But I have pictures of me fishing, and even into, I was always looking for worms. After it rained, I'd go out on the driveway and I'd collect them all, and then it was time to go fishing. So, but here's another fun fact for you. In high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I was fascinated by the ocean, fascinated with creatures in the ocean, especially whales, especially orcas. Yeah, I know those pictures are pretty funny. But yeah, so I was fascinated by orcas and whales, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. So, so here's a couple more pictures of me in high school. Yeah, I still had bad hair. I don't know what I was holding there, what kind of fish, but There's another one, probably the tiniest fish ever, still at that little runoff pond. So yeah, I've got all these, not tons of pictures, but whenever I had the chance, I remember I just loved fishing. So just to switch gears a little bit. Yeah, I know, Kathy. I can't either. But I remember around 12 years old, I was at church, always sneaking off to play the piano at our church. I would hear the songs they were doing for worship, and I would just try to plunk them out and figure them out on the piano. So my mom ended up getting me a keyboard as a reward. I took 6 years of piano and voice lessons before I went to college. By the time I was 16, I kind of changed my idea of being a marine biologist, and I decided that I wanted to go into some type of ministry. So I went to Bible college, and that is where I met my husband. I'm jumping ahead of myself because I have one more fun fact about before I went to college is I did a program in our church called Bible Quiz. And you probably had never heard of it, but it's kind of like a competition thing where this church and that church are competing against each other, and you learn as much as you can about the Bible. You memorize actually whole books of the Bible, chapter by chapter. You have to quote them to your coach or somebody, and less than 3 mistakes. So I did that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I memorized like 11 different books of the Bible. I can't tell you all of them right now anymore, but it has helped me out through the years. It comes back when I need it. But that's a fun fact for you. So on to college life. In college, went to, it's called Central Bible College. We called it Central Bridal College. Ring by spring or your money back. So they said. Now it's called Evangel University because it kind of went under and Evangel took it on. So, but that's where I met Andy. In my sophomore year, we actually got married. I wouldn't always say that that's a great thing to get married so young, but that's what we did. But we fished all the time in college. We were in Springfield, Missouri. We were not too far from Branson. We were, there was just lakes and rivers everywhere. So we would go, we had friends with tons of land. They had horses and ponds, and we would go out there and we'd fish for bass and bluegill. We would go under the overpasses at night, and we would get almost mauled by gar and catching catfish with lighted bobbers and things like that. That's where I learned how to play spades. I love playing spades. If anybody wants to come play spades with me, my husband, come on over. We love that game. But yeah, so that's where we learned. We would go, there was a pond behind the college, and we would set out trot lines out there. If anybody knows what trot lines are, we'd set those out, and then we'd go back and check and see if any was on there. I remember us catching a huge turtle on there once, and that was crazy. But here's a little fun fact for you. I fell off of a horse at our friend's house that had all that land, and had an accident. It actually led to some memory issues that I have now. So I have to write everything down. If any of you have seen my desk in my office, it actually looks pretty good right now, but I used to have sticky notes like everywhere because I would have to just keep writing everything down. But yeah, I fell off the horse. That's a big, long story in itself, but I got knocked out. I was saying the same thing over and over for 8 hours. My poor husband, I said the same thing every 5 minutes and drove him about crazy. So that's a fun fact for you. But also in college, here's another thing you might not know about me, but I started writing music. So I would go to the practice rooms at school. I didn't know what to do with it, but I would just start writing song after song. Sometimes I'd sit there in the dark and just play the piano in the dark. I probably can't see. I got my keyboard behind me there, but I thought about playing for you and singing a song, but I tested it out, and actually the keyboard sounds terrible when it comes through the microphone for some reason. It's definitely not. I don't have a way to plug it into the system, but it doesn't sound good. So we're just gonna like not do that. So then after college, we moved to Florida. In fact, we lived here back around 1999, 1998, 1999. We moved here. We were helping a friend of ours with a church, with a school that they took on, and they needed a ton of help. So we came on as teachers. And that's when I started teaching private piano lessons once my son was born. Michael was born here in Florida in the Sanford Hospital. So here's a fun fact. New Smyrna was our beach. That was a family beach. It was before they made the inlet there. And it was such an awesome beach. It was safe. There was no sharks. Now it's the shark capital of the world, right? It's like there's so many sharks there. It never used to be like that back around 2000. But we'd go up to Port Orange. We were catching sharks off the pier. We'd go and hunt blue crabs on the beach at night, and we'd bring them home and cook them up around midnight. It was wild. It was before we had kids. So that's a fun fact that, New Smyrna was the beach that we went to. There was no sharks there back then. Well, there was sharks, but not like there is now. But anyways, so with having kids, once Michael was born, fishing took a back burner. And those of you who are parents, if you have a hobby or something, once your kids come along, these things that are just extra things, they usually get put on the back burner, unfortunately. So that's what happened with that. So at the time, Andy worked at a large publishing company in Lake Mary, Florida. So this was back, probably around 2000, maybe a little after that. And he learned all about the publishing industry and got to know that. So that would come into place later in our life because he saw how the publishing industry worked and he had a great passion for it. But then we ended up doing other things instead of when he left that job and we left the state, we were doing other things. But anyways, before we left Florida, here's kind of another fun fact. I got the worship team at our church together, and we practiced, and then we took all the music. We went down to Full Sail, if you know where that is, down near Orlando, and for $20 we recorded they just turned us on, $20, 2 hours. They turned us on, and I got all the tracks for my first CD, my first album, I Choose Your Ways. It's all original music. We released that in 2003. We took the tracks and edited them in another state. But that was like one of the last things that we did before we moved out of Florida. And so fast forward in between the last time we were in Florida till now is about 17 years till we moved back. We were pastors in churches. I'm just going to breeze over because this is like a lot of stuff that happened in 17 years. I was leading choirs and worship teams, doing holiday productions. I was writing more music. And then in 2006, we really felt like we were supposed to go on the road full time. And my husband was a preacher and I would sing. And so our kids were 3 and 5 at the time. And we sold pretty much 90% of our belongings. And we went on the road. We took them with us. We went to about 150 churches in about 3 years time. And it was amazing. We saw some incredible things while we were on the road. I produced 2 more albums. Fire by Night came out in 2008. Got a Breakthrough came out in 2010. And I still have that music. It's on YouTube. I have an artist channel. It's got about 6 subscribers. So if someone wants to find it and listen to it, they can, but it's not really like the thing that I focus on right now. Or anymore. Right now I'm just doing worship with my church on their worship team. But I will tell you that anytime that while we were on the road and while we were traveling, anytime someone offered to take us fishing, I was like, oh yes, we're going. I took that opportunity. Anytime we pass a body of water, you can ask my husband, he would always see me staring at that water and he'd be like, oh, you're thinking about fishing, right? And so it was always, even though I wasn't fishing and I didn't do it very much, it was always a passion in the background of my life. So here's another fun fact about when we were on the road. We had hired a radio promotions company out of Nashville to promote my music. They had contacted me and asked if I wanted to try them out. So we did like a 3-month trial. They took me on. And then after that 3 months was over, I just said, you know what, we can't afford to keep doing this. So we're just going to have to stop doing it. And so they came back to me and said, we really believe in you. We believe in your music and we want to fund all of the radio promotion for you. I guess they would take on like one person as kind of like they would kind of pay for all of their radio promotion for that 1 year. and they chose me that one time. And so they got me on radio. I was doing some interviews. One of my songs called Fire by Night, that one's on that channel too. That got on rotation for about 6 years. Actually, they tried to take it off after a few years, and people kept calling in and requesting it. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But anyways, but that era kind of passed. And what happened while we were on the road, we kept meeting people who needed books done. They had a book in them, and they'd try to go to these big publishing companies, and they would get offers and they couldn't afford them. So we saw an opportunity. Andy knew about the publishing industry, and we decided to start our own publishing company. It was called Fivefold Media, and we started that around 2009. And we had that company for about 9 years. We published, oh gosh, how many books did we publish? Probably over 200 books in 9 years. And I became the office manager, the project manager. I learned how to do layout, cover design. I actually became really skilled in all of these areas, to the point where when we closed Fivefold Media, I was able to keep doing that as an independent contractor. And now I have helped people, probably 350 books or more that I've worked on for people. So that is something that's been my bread and butter. So that's what I do as my job right now. Is I'm a book designer, and you can go to csbookdesign.com. That's my website for that, if you want to. And if you're a writer, if you have a book, you can come talk to me and we'll see what we can do. But anyways, here's another fun fact. I have authored or co-authored 5 books. Most of them are not really out there being sold anymore because they were through Fivefold Media. And when that shut down, we just kind of closed out all of those books too. But I am releasing, and you're probably thinking that I'm crazy, because not only do I have a book design business, not only am I starting a fishing company, and I'm going to be doing charters, and I'm creating a membership site for that. And I'm also a YouTuber now too. And so I'm putting out content on a regular basis. I'm on my worship team helping and all this stuff. And I have kids and life and husband, but I'm also releasing a book in September. So September 27th, I'm actually going to show this to you. Oh, I forgot to show you one picture. That was from college, a little bass that I caught. But anyways, that was fun. But this is the book that is going to be released September 27th. It's actually being released on my mom's birthday. She passed away in 2014. And I dedicated the book to her. And it just happened that I ended up picking this date, and then I didn't even realize that was her birthday until after I thought about it, and whoa, this is like perfect. So the book's called Believe, and it's about how miracles can happen through ordinary everyday people. But it's a fiction book, it's a storyline, and most of the miracles in here were actually things that happened to us firsthand, or we saw it happen firsthand, or something similar to that. And so I wanted to write a story that helped people to believe that miracles can happen, and God can use people, anybody, to work miracles. So that's that book that's coming out in September. You'll hear more about that eventually. But so in 2015, we're fast forwarding here a little bit. 2015, we almost got hired at a publishing company in Florida, down near Orlando. And we came in, we visited, and it was pretty awesome. That we were so excited, and we came back, and our son, with tears in his eyes, said to us, "Can you just give me 4 more years?" He was a freshman in high school. And he said, "I don't want to move. I don't want to lose my friends." Both of our kids were excelling in academics, in sports, in music. And we had seen the detriment that people would do when they would move while their kids were in high school. And then they would have such a difficult time fitting in and just finding their niche and being able to excel. It was very, very difficult. So we said, okay, we're going to wait, we'll do that for you guys. And we ended up waiting 5 years. We waited till both of our kids graduated from high school, and we had the truck packed We had the moving truck when we dropped them off at college, when our daughter was ready to go to school. And we were ready to go because we knew that we were supposed to be back in Florida. And we actually thought we were going to, here's a fun fact, we thought we were moving down to Daytona Beach. That's our sights were always set on Daytona Beach. When we talked about going back to Florida, we had like visited Ormond Beach and we're like, oh, this feels like home. And so we were always thinking it was going to be Daytona Beach. And we started seeing all these ads for Palm Coast, and the houses were so much cheaper. Well, they were back then, right, Cathy? They're not so much cheaper now because they're looking to come down here. So they're seeing all the prices right now. But yeah, we started seeing, and I was looking. I'm a runner too. I like to run, so I was like, where am I going to run if I'm in Daytona Beach? It's all like, it's all not neighborhoods, but it didn't seem like safe areas where we were looking. And here there's like trails everywhere. There's all kind of places to go and to run. And we're like, wow, we read up on the history, we fell in love with the area, and we just really felt like we were supposed to come to Palm Coast. So we moved here, and then I started seeing people fishing on the beach, and I was like, hey, I see fishing and I see the beach, two of the best things in the world. Yeah. So went to Bass Pro Shop, got my fishing pole. My first fishing pole was a Penn Battle 3 8-foot pole, not the most ideal surf fishing rod. It has a 5,000 reel that I still have, and I'm using it on one of my rods that I have now still. And but I got other poles at Walmart just because didn't have a lot of money, especially after dropping almost $200 on the Penn Battle 3. I was like, okay, can't spend that much on every pole right now. So we just filled in. You can get started on something simple until you find out that you really love something. You don't have to spend a ton of money on surf fishing. You can start out simple, start out easy. That's what I'm teaching in our membership site, is that you can just start out until you find out if you really like it. And if you really love it, then start upgrading your equipment and getting better stuff. So let's see. So yeah, as soon as I figured out that I loved surf fishing, I started watching countless hours of fishing videos. You can ask my husband, my daughter, my son. Anytime they saw me, I was watching surf fishing videos and trying to talk to them about it. And they were like, we don't even know what you're talking about. What? So my mind was just like a sponge when it came to fishing. So, and then I have a friend named Robert who I met through a game, and he lives up in Jacksonville. And no, the membership site's not up yet. I am shooting for, hopefully sometime in September. It might be the beginning of October, but I have not had time to edit all the content that I need, that I want to have up there readily available when it comes. But yes, I'm going to be telling everyone. You'll know ahead of time, but that's coming. Hopefully in another month or so. But that's a good question. So, anyways, my friend Robert, met him through a game. We were in like the same little group on this game, and he introduced me to the Broken Realtor 23 group, led by Spencer and Chip, the sinker guy. And so I joined that group, and I started learning even more, because if you have been part of any of these fishing groups, you know that someone will post a question, someone will post their fishing report, and then everyone starts jumping in and commenting, and you're asking questions, and you just start learning so much from all these other people. So I remember last year I went to the Sinker Guys fishing seminar at the Flagler Sports Fishing Club meeting, and learned so much from him about his method and the glass beads, and I'm using those all the time. They really work. And but just, yeah, getting to meet Chip, getting to meet Spencer, and I've been meeting so many amazing people even just lately. God has just put people in my path and helped me connect with so many wonderful people in the fishing industry. And I can honestly say that I have not met anyone in the fishing community yet. I'm sure they're out there, but not met anyone yet that has really rubbed me the wrong way or has been a horrible person or just something. So I really love the fishing community. You're all so helpful, and I appreciate it. But yes, Mark, there's tons of knowledge that everyone is sharing, and it's just amazing to see that. And everyone's just, we all have the same focus, right? We all just want to see people catch fish and enjoy themselves and have a good time on the beach. And that's what Fishing Girl is going to be about, is gathering women who want to learn, want to just have fun together and learn and grow together. So, but in November, we're going to do another show, because I know we're coming to the end of our time here. In November 2021, we started seeing the vision for Fishing Girl. We actually started the name. We started we started the company in December, and we've just been laying lots of groundwork until now. I know it's almost August, and this whole year we've just been laying the groundwork for it and getting things going. And as you know, obviously I've got the channel going, and I'm really happy with the momentum we've got going with that. Thank you for all of you who've subscribed. I really, really appreciate you. It's been super awesome to see the support that I've gotten. People have donated things. People have really stepped up and helped me with knowledge too. There's some of you who've been teaching and helping me with learning, answering questions that I have about guiding, because it's something new. It's something I haven't done before, and I appreciate all of the knowledge. So in short, about me, I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a wife, a mother, a singer, a songwriter, a worship leader, an author, a book designer, and a surf fishing guide now. In my free time, I am obviously fishing, but I do crocheting, I read, I run. Here's a fun fact. I ran 2 half marathons. I paint when I have time, which is never lately. Oh, we had a picture I was going to put on the wall, but I couldn't get it there. It's painted that a few years back, but it bothers me because it looks like the stream is going slightly uphill. So I'm like, I don't know about that one.